No matter what, people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkirka Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. Today, we are talking about what is in and what is out for 2026. Still moving along in our New Year series, I really wanted to throw in one that's a little unserious. We talk about a lot of serious topics on this podcast, which make me happy because these are topics that are very important to me and important to a lot of people. But every now and then I like to have some silly, non-serious episodes just to mix it up because, as I've said, we have range on this podcast. I want you guys to always be able to take something away from every single episode, and every single episode will touch someone differently each time, which is the point. But this one, I really wanted to do more of a yap. Let's just do a chit chat, talk about things I like, talk about things I hate. And I already know someone will also feel pretty similarly about the things I say, but hey, maybe you won't. And that is also okay. We are all allowed to have our own opinions. We are all allowed to feel how we feel. And these are just my opinions. You can take them, you can leave them. But I really wanted to just bring you guys one that is light and fun. But before we get started, take some time to rate this show, Misunderstood, 5 stars. Misunderstood is growing. She's growing, and it's exciting to see how many more people are tuning in and listening to this podcast. And ratings do matter. I've explained why they matter, but just a little refresher. Ratings tell other people who have never listened to this podcast that this is a podcast worth listening to. I believe it is, and it definitely shows by how many people have downloaded this podcast within a year since inception. So if you have been listening to Misunderstood since the very beginning, or if you have come along recently and you're hooked and you love the episodes and you've been binging, and if you have not already, please rate this show 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. That really helps to continue this show, as well as follow this show on both Apple and Spotify so that it shows up in your list of podcasts that you listen to regularly and so that you never miss an episode. Thank you so much. All right, now let us begin our New Year yap. So this is essentially going to look like a State of the Union. If you've heard of a State of the Union, it's essentially declaring what's in and what's out. And of course, like I said, all of these lists, every list you've ever heard of from me and from anyone else, they are ultimately subjective. I am not the be all and end all of any statement, and neither is anyone else. These are just things that are prevalent in my life and I really want to talk about. And also in each list, there are some extremely niche ones that I thought would be good to bring up so that you guys know a little bit more about me. And also, I know that with the extremely niche ones, not everyone is going to align and not everyone is going to even understand or know the extent of it. And that's okay. It makes me feel like I'm connecting to a very specific group of people. I see you and I feel like I'm talking directly at you, which is fun. I have 10 ins and 10 outs. I was thinking, which one should I start with first? But I feel like a lot of people start with outs first and then do the ins, but I think I'm going to switch it up. I think we're going to do ins first and then outs. Number 1, connecting with your inner child. This is something I've strived to do ever since I was a teenager, to always connect with my inner child, especially growing up where I felt so liberated in ways of exploring the things I loved and doing things simply for the fun of it. There was no agenda. You're just doing it because it brought you joy. We need to revisit that in 2026 and beyond. Literally for our entire lives, we should always be striving to get back to our inner child because our inner child needs to be healed and nurtured well into adulthood and literally for the rest of our lives. So with that said, there are so many activities that I do weekly that I am intentionally connecting with my inner child. I journal, make a scrapbook. There's so many different DIY crafts. Crocheting. Me and my grandmother used to crochet when I was a kid, so that means a lot to me. Coloring is a very big part of my adulthood now. I have a few coloring books that I just like to color in when I feel stressed. It's actually a really good stress reliever if you didn't know. Don't even get me started about stationery and craft stores like a Michael's and even those really one-off, very vintage niche stationery stores that are so curated and so beautiful. Bury me in those stores. I love those kind of stores. I could spend hours in there and still have something to do. And I love so many different types of stationery, fun papers, fun markers, fun pens, fun stickers. The entire thing is just so much fun, and I make it a whole moment when I get to go into those stores and pick out things. It really makes me feel like I'm connecting with my inner child. This is a very, very niche reference, but if anybody remembers Anne Frank's whole repertoire of stationery, pens, papers, stickers, coloring books, journals, binders, literally, I was right there. I was at the forefront of that. That is really what unlocked a lot for me as a kid. And I just strive to get back to that every single day. So anyways, connect with your inner child in any way that makes sense for you, of course. But I just gave you guys a handful of items that I do weekly to make sure I'm connecting with my inner child. Number 2, donating versus selling. So I'm talking anytime you have maybe a pair of shoes or jeans or any type of clothing item that you want to maybe sell. Here's the thing. I have a little caveat for this because I'm not talking about items that are super high value items. Definitely try to get some money for a Louis Vuitton bag or something that was very, very costly, but I'm talking just your everyday clothes. When you go through your closets, when you go through your drawers, you haven't worn them in a very long time. And honestly, you haven't thought twice about them. So it's a sunk cost at that point. You didn't think about them. So why go out of your way to try to sell them? And honestly, we know with the Crossroads and all the other selling places as a whole, they honestly don't give you that much money. Okay. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I have taken bags and bags of clothes to these selling places and have walked away with not even a quarter of what I thought I would have gotten, basically getting no money for bags and bags worth of clothes. And is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? And then also with the online selling of it all, we know Poshmark, eBay, insert any of the other ones here. It just feels so time consuming to list them online, go through that whole process of finding someone to buy it. And honestly, it'll just sit there. It'll sit there for months and months and months. It will. It will. I know it. So was it even worth going through all that to try to sell something that you should just donate? Just donate it. Personally, I have been loving donating. I donated so much stuff last year and it just made me feel good walking away knowing that I just donated it to someone who definitely needs it more than me. And just that feeling of I don't need to always get something from doing something. You know what I mean? It's just a feeling of letting go of old weight, but also you're doing a good deed by just donating something. And if you didn't know, a lot of donation places give you a tax donation slip that you can use toward your taxes if you so choose to, just a little perk of doing that. But I just find it so much more freeing to just donate the clothes and not look back rather than trying to get a few dollars from the act of selling, which is just so much more hassle than it's worth. Number 3, weekly side quests. I'm the side quest queen. I've done so many side quests and I have made a whole bit of it also on my YouTube. I started a series called Week of Whimsy where I'm essentially taking everybody through weekly activities I do to find joy and intentionality in everyday life. And I think it's really fun to take yourself out of your everyday and just do something new, do something fresh, do something fun. And one thing about me, I love a side quest. I love doing things that are new because it always makes me think that there's so much more to life than the life I'm living right now. Tomorrow I can do something completely different that I've never done and I will have a completely new experience and a new memory to hold. And that idea is so fun for me. So if you are also into side quests, I highly recommend trying a few. Last year I did seriously a ton of side quests. My bigger side quests were definitely my solo trips. I would definitely include weekend trips, solo trips, definitely in a side quest. Essentially, it's just doing something new and fun. Almost anything can be a side quest if you believe it to be. But last year, I rented a car super last minute and drove to Maine. It was an 8.5 hour drive, and I did it solo, and I had so much fun. I also rented a car a few months later and went to Vermont for the first time solo, which was super fun. Those were definitely the bigger side quests I did last year. Some weekly side quests I love to do are going to museums, going to new cafes, reading in fun places outside of the library, and also in the library. That could be definitely a side quest as well. Honestly, there are so many fun things that I have done in New York, but also just in my apartment, learning new things, reading new books. All of those things are fun side quests that you can definitely integrate into your life. And that is absolutely an in for 2026 and honestly forever. Number 4, wearing a statement piece. A few months back, I talked to you guys about the quintessential classic capsule wardrobe. I believe every single person needs those items in their wardrobe to just have a very well-rounded wardrobe, and those items you can pair with so many other things. But I do also believe that wearing a statement piece in most outfits is just a fun way to live. I love living in color. I love living in patterns and fun designs. That is a very big part of who I am. And also, it's a really great way to express yourself. A lot of people forget that what you wear is an extension of you. And I think when you are really intentional about finding items that speak to you personally, that tells a bigger story about who you are. I love a statement piece. A few days ago, I wore my fur coat, which is absolutely a statement piece. I got it last January in New York. I love her. She only comes out in the winter, and that's okay. But statement pieces are statements for a reason. They don't come with us everywhere, but when they come out, you get a lot of compliments. You honestly just feel really good about wearing it. I think about this with some of my really nice jewelry that I literally only wear on special occasions. I have some really fun, really unique pairs of heels that, again, only wear for a special occasion, but every single time I put them on, and also when I wear them out, I get a lot of compliments, and also I just feel fun and feel me. I feel so myself when I step into these statement pieces, and I think everyone should have a few statement pieces, whether it's a statement jacket, a statement bag, statement jewelry, whatever. Wearing them now and then really just mixes it up and makes you feel a lot more fun. Number 5, non-drinking hangouts. 2026 is the year that we all just drink less. Maybe that is a hot take. Let it be one. 2026 is the year that we just drink less. Honestly, I have just been incrementally drinking less and less as the years have gone on. I used to drink a lot in college and even post-grad when I was in my corporate job, and those environments were not great. I'll say it. They were not great environments. Drinking almost suppressed the negativity, but that's not how we should be living our lives. We shouldn't feel dependent on alcohol to have fun and to be around our friends. So less drinking in 2026, and honestly, just non-drinking events and hangouts in general. And when I say that, I really just mean the event should not revolve around drinking. We can do so many activities that honestly don't involve drinking. If you want to have a drink here and there, no one's stopping you, but we are not having events revolve around drinking. A few days ago, I went to a vision board making night and I had so much fun. I am doing dry Jan, which I've already told you guys. It was really fun that so many other girls were not drinking and we just had the best time. I spent 4.5 hours at this event, completely sober, thriving, having a great time talking to other girls and making genuine connections. Again, all outside of drinking, because yes, you can function without alcohol. I've already said this before. I do enjoy having cocktails here and then with my friends, but I'm really proud that so many of the things I do honestly don't involve alcohol at all. And that is always where I wanted to arrive at. Honestly, a journey, but I'm really happy that I do so many things that don't involve alcohol. Honestly, I think I just live a more peaceful and happier life because of that. So I just mentioned the vision board night, but of course, literally plug in anything. Going to the park, having a craft night, baking with your friends, going to the movies. There's so many things that you can do that do not involve drinking. Why not explore that in 2026? Number 6, phone calls. Let's bring phone calls back. I hate texting. All my friends know this. I really don't like texting. I just don't like it. And I think it's really because no one has a personality over text message, and it just feels like it condenses who you are into a few words in a little bubble. I do not like it. So I would rather call someone. I have way more fruitful and way more dynamic and engaging relationships because I call people and they call me rather than us relying on texting. Me and my baby sister, we have a weekly phone call. It's been really great for our relationship. Honestly, that is why our relationship is so much better now, is because we have stuck to a weekly phone call. It's just nice to hear how she's doing, her to hear how I'm doing. We can tell a lot of stories while we're on a phone call that it's just not conducive for text, right? So I highly recommend just having more phone calls. Also, me and one of my best friends, Julia, we have a phone call at least once a month, and she's all the way in California. It's really nice to, of course, still be connected with her and vice versa, and us to still know really important details about each other's lives, even though we are not physically even in the same state or even the same side of the country. We are still really, really close because we do phone calls. I also believe this is probably a hot take, let it be, but mature people have phone calls. Mature people have phone calls. I don't care how busy you are. Mature people make the time and have phone calls. I'll leave it at that. Number 7, an analog lifestyle. And this is perfect for me because I love hands-on activities and I love reverting back to how we lived before phones and before the internet was involved. I am a millennial, so yes, I did experience a lot of things that were analog before a lot of this digital stuff came about. My childhood was pretty analog, and I'm really, really thankful for that. And also, that is why I find myself wanting to revert back. I actually crave that slower, more stationary lifestyle because I literally grew up with it. There's so many examples. We can start with music, where we used to have music players like a boombox. Was it called an iPod? I think it was called an iPod. We had these players that were just a lot more stationary, which allowed us to be a lot more intentional about how we consumed that medium. Also, I've always wanted a vinyl. I'll be honest. I mainly want it because aesthetically it looks beautiful, but also just imagining having records and putting a CD on the vinyl, that just feels like a vibe. I'm actually going to look for one and see if I can find one that's not crazy expensive, but that is just another way of intentionally living and intentionally consuming media. Other examples, a physical journal. Have had so many physical journals in my life, and I will always have a physical journal no matter how much I love writing things digitally. I absolutely rely a lot on a physical journal because it allows me to, again, slow down and be more intentional. A lot of tech equipment like a camera, specifically a film camera. I have just been loving using a film camera. Along with a film camera, you can also find a Polaroid or a disposable camera. Those are also really great ways to be more intentional about what you're consuming and how you're absorbing life. Then you have a physical memory. Something about that will just always feel really good. Physical books as well. Another hot take. I don't have a Kindle. I don't want one. No one ever get me one. I just don't want to take something that is so beautiful in its own, which is a physical book, and revert to Kindle just because it's convenient. I know that it's convenient. You can put it in your pocket. You can have so many titles and books at your fingertips. Cool. But we have to keep bookstores alive and we have to keep libraries alive. These are so important to the human experience. It makes me sad thinking about how future generations might not have some of the things that I had. That's just so crazy. Physical books, forever and ever. I will never get a Kindle. Mark my words. If I get gifted one, I will literally give it away. Promise. I don't want one. I have no interest in one. I love a physical book. I just love turning pages. I love annotating between the lines. I never want to stop doing that practice. So those are just some analog ways of living. I highly recommend trying to do more of that in 2026 and beyond. The last 3 are the extremely niche items that I just had to share with you guys. Again, maybe people might not like these, or maybe people will. It doesn't matter. These are just my opinions. This is technically number 8, the strawberry shortcake matcha from Blank Street. So Blank Street is a chain coffee shop here in New York City, I heard about Blank Street and I fell in love very, very quickly after. And I'm so loyal to Blank Street. If I'm being so honest right now, after recording this podcast episode, I literally want to go to Blank Street and get one. I crave it. It is so good. I love sweet things. So having a sweet matcha is very important to me. I love sweet drinks. I love sweet things, but for matcha, especially because matcha itself is actually very bitter, I actually only drink matcha lattes, but specifically if I had it my way, every single time I got a matcha, I would always get this matcha. It has to be ice and it has to have whole milk. And actually that's the 9th item on this list. Whole milk. Whole milk is in. No more almond milk, no more oat milk, no more soy. I already know that one. People are going to come after me for that one. That's okay. No more whole milk slander, because there was a time where there was so much slander about whole milk and if it was too fatty or whatever. Whole milk is good for you. Also, there has been a lot of studies that have come out recently that say almond milk, oat milk, soy milk has a lot of additives and processed stuff that's also just not good for you. I'm not speaking to anybody who is lactose intolerant. You are excused from this whole conversation. Drink whatever you need to drink. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking just as a general statement. The people who have hated on whole milk for years, you're done. We are done with the whole milk slander. Whole milk is in. Whole milk just tastes so much better in literally everything, in your latte, in cereal, when you're baking. I will always pick whole milk. And then number 10, asking for the pretty glass whenever you are out drinking cocktails anywhere. Whether it is at a restaurant, at a bar, wherever you get a cocktail, ask for the pretty glass. Here's a quick fact. If you did not know this, I learned this from a guy who I dated, who was a bartender. Ever since he told me this, I have been doing this. If you want to ensure that your glass is a pretty glass, just ask for it to be served up. Served up means it is in a coupe glass, and coupe glasses, look it up if you don't know what it is, but it is a beautiful glass. I love coupe glasses. I have some here at the apartment, and they just make every drink feel like an experience rather than just a cup or a glass. So ask for your drink to be served up. So at this jazz bar, I asked for the drink to be served up. She brought it and it wasn't served up. So I actually just kindly asked her again, hey, I asked for this to be served up. Could you please bring it back to me in a coupe glass? And she's like, no problem. Mind you, I was also drinking a mocktail. It doesn't matter. It felt like an experience, even though I was drinking mocktail. Nothing wrong with mocktails. I love drinking mocktails. It's about the presentation and it's about being whimsy and being fun. And I think that's a really great way to romanticize your experiences while you're out. Always get the pretty glass. And even when you're home, if you're just drinking electrolytes or even if you're drinking water, put it in a wine glass. I don't drink Celsius, but if you drink Celsius, for example, put it in a fun glass. It'll just make you feel like your life is romantic, because of course it is. Now, on to the outs of 2026. Again, these ones might be polarizing. I might get some pushback on these. And if I do, oh well, because again, these are my opinions. Take them or leave them, but let us begin. Number 1, shallow friendships. When I think of a shallow friendship, I think about a few things. It goes beyond just the depth of a friendship. I'm talking transactional friends. I'm talking friends who are jealous of you secretly or not so secretly. I'm talking about one-sided friendships, friendships that don't feel reciprocal. There are a lot of different types of ways that a friendship can, of course, be shallow. And ultimately, when someone you come across who you think is your friend, but they are not putting in nearly as much effort as you, that hurts. And it will never stop hurting. It just means that there is a misalignment and a mismatch, and you don't deserve that. You deserve to be in a fruitful, reciprocal, healthy friendship. Don't accept anything less. Honestly, I think that goes without saying, but don't accept anything less. I told you we are strict over here, and I'm still standing on business. I'm here to say I'm still standing on business. I X'd out a lot of people at the end of 2025. I did, and I needed to. I needed to because it's not my job to tell you how to be a good friend. It's not. People know what they're doing. I do believe that. Me just taking a step back is for the best. It's for the best. If they want to reach out, I am so happy and so open to have a conversation, because ultimately they didn't do anything overtly wrong, but I know that my threshold has been hit, and it's honestly really exhausting emotionally to try to continue to be a really good friend to someone who has not been a good friend. I'll just leave it at that. Number 2, being a hater, especially unprovoked. I do believe that being a hater, just in general, don't be a hater. Just don't be a hater. That's just such an unattractive thing to be. But taking it a step further, especially when it's unprovoked, it screams pick me, and it screams you literally have nothing else better to do, which is so problematic. I have a very specific example in mind. I'm not going to call this person out by name, but there are actually a handful of people who do this on social media where their content is literally revolving around talking shit about other people, picking apart other people, calling out other people for whatever it is. Fill in the blank. It could be anything. They are picking apart other people's ways of posting on social media or their content style and things like that. When you take a step back, when you really think about it, this group of creators who are making this type of content, do they even realize that their entire content stream is about other people? It's not even about them. It is the most icky behavior. I see those videos and those accounts pop onto my page and I immediately block them. I never want anything to do with you. I do not want to be associated with you at all. I never want to see you again. Because if you go as far as to make an entire video about someone else, so unprovoked, they did nothing to you as well, that is so crazy. That is so immature, and I stand on that. And there was a saying I heard not too long ago, which completely relates to the people who do this. They talk about other people because when they talk about themselves, no one listens. That could not be more true. And it is exactly what is happening. They maybe have tried content about themselves. It flopped. It didn't do well. They think that their ticket to success is dragging other people down. That will never sit right with me. It is being a hater. No matter what you want to categorize yourself, I don't give a shit. You're a hater. And if you continue to do that, I just don't even understand how you think that you're going to really make it in the industry by dragging someone else down. But outside of this class of people, this also relates to anybody in everyday life who has ever shamed somebody for liking something specific or having their own hobbies and wants to share it with the world, or even just in a more private setting, if it's just a group of friends and someone's really proud of something and there's someone who is being a hater, being rude, or putting someone down for liking certain things or having a hobby, whatever it is. All of that energy is being a hater. I fully believe that people who are haters, they really hate themselves. And that's so sad. It's so sad that you hate yourself that much to go out of your way to make someone else feel sad or insecure or wrong for liking what they like. You're a fucking hater. And I hate you. I do not like that energy. Get that away from me. Number 3, finishing a book you don't like. So I recently went through this. I still finished the book, but after reflecting on it, that's why I've actually put it on this list, because I kind of wish I didn't finish it. I kind of wish I just DNF'd it, which just means did not finish. I really wish I DNF'd it and moved on, because life is too short to read books you don't like. I heard that a few years ago, and that has always stuck with me. We should be spending our time and pouring ourselves into books that actually bring us joy, that we're actually interested in. That doesn't mean it's a bad book, and that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. I think that's where I struggled, because I always thought, oh, well, so many people like it, that means I should too. That's not the case. Reading is so subjective, and you should definitely only be pouring your time and your efforts and your energy into books that actually make you feel uplifted. Because remember, reading is supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be an escape. So make it worth your while. Number 4, staying out late. And for me, late is past midnight. I have no business being out past midnight. I'm 31 and sometimes I do feel like a grandma. Actually, no, I'm definitely not. I do love being outside and I do love hanging out with my friends and being social. I've always said my favorite hours of the day to be out and go be social is from 6 to 10. You will get the best of me. Past midnight, you will probably get the worst of me, and no one needs to see that. And I'm tired and I'm groggy and cranky, and I don't like drinking really late as well, because then it messes up with my sleep and it just makes me feel like shit the next day. No, I don't like staying up late. I don't like staying out late. I can be home and be up until maybe 1 watching TV or reading, but I just don't see the point of staying out late. past midnight, especially because everyone around me is super, super, super drunk for the most part. And that's just not my vibe. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I just know when to excuse myself from the equation. Number 5, overconsumption. This has been such a trending topic on social for the last few years, but me specifically, I have taken a personal oath to myself to not consume so much media, but also physically not buy things just because it's a trend. I actually stopped doing that and I'm very proud of that. If I really, really love it, I will have had to think about that item for a good amount of time, more than a week. And if I circle back and if I really want it and if I can figure out how to intentionally integrate it into my life, I'll buy it. But overconsumption is so negative for the planet, but it's also just really negative for how we live. We are not supposed to just buy things just because other people say we should buy them. And yes, of course, that gets into the influencer culture of it all, which is a story for another day. But I do stand on overconsumption being a negative thing and have tried to revert to more of a minimalist lifestyle. I do still have a lot of stuff, but I am very intentional about what I keep. And each year I definitely do an overhaul, figure out what I need to part ways with. And that has just helped me live a less consumed life. And it also just helps me remember what's important in life. All of these material things are not important. There's so many other things that are worth our time. Material things are just not it. Number 6, being nonchalant. What's the point of being nonchalant when life is for expression and being bold and saying how you feel and loving deeply? I can never be with a nonchalant man. And this goes beyond just dating. But the first example I have is with dating. Guys who don't put in effort, who don't give you flowers, who don't say how they feel, who don't show deep acts of love, I don't want it. If it's nonchalant, I don't want it. You've been told. And I just find that being nonchalant really takes a lot of fun out of life and a lot of the whimsy and a lot of zest. We like to express ourselves and feel very emotional and very connected to who is around us and what we do. Being nonchalant is not a part of our 2026 and beyond. Let's strive to be chalant. Let's strive to care about the things that matter to us and actually speak on them. This goes beyond dating. It goes in any facet of your life you can think of, but it's cool to care. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Number 7, doom scrolling. We are breaking up with our phone addiction in 2026, and it's for good reason. My screen time last year was horrendous. And yes, half of it is because I work in social media, but I have clocked it a ton of times and realized that there are a lot of ways that I can step away from my phone. And doom scrolling is in a completely different category of phone usage. Doom scrolling is negative, no matter how you look at it. And yes, I understand we all need an escape. And there's so many different ways to escape digitally and non-digitally. But hey, why not think of a non-digital way to escape? Doom scrolling is something I really, really, really am focusing on. And I've been setting phone timers so that I am not doom scrolling as much, which has been helping. It ultimately makes me feel very brain fried. And I really hate the feeling of how my eyes twitch literally when I've been on my phone for too long. It is so bad. It is toxic. We are not doing that in 2026. For the most part, I'm saying this as I don't want to do it. Yes, it's going to happen a few times, but as long as we're conscious of it, that's all that really matters. Number 8, a lack of self-awareness. All right, so this one, we are looking inward. We are looking at ourselves and we need to be self-aware. It's very important for us to know ourselves well, but also be aware of how we are projecting ourselves in the world and how we're treating others. That's all about being self-aware. That's also an adjacent pillar of misunderstood, really understanding oneself and being committed to that practice. And I think over the last 5 years, I've been very, very intentional about being self-aware and really understanding myself and also understanding how I fit into this bigger scheme of the world, really wanting to always put my best foot forward and also recounting my mistakes and seeing how I can improve and be a better person. We all do need to take accountability when we wrong someone and when we might have fallen short with ourselves. That also means giving ourselves and others grace, but ultimately, when you're more self-aware, you are a better person for sure. That is a factual statement. So the people who lack self-awareness, it is very frustrating to see it. It just means that those type of people just need to work more on themselves. And we can all work on ourselves. So let's just all raise our self-awareness in 2026. All right, I have 2 extremely niche items for our last 2 of our outs list. Number 9, very, 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 very niche. Hooking up with him just because he texted you and you are cold, bored, lonely, horny, fill in the blank, whatever it is. That is out. That is out. We've spoken about this in previous episodes. We are not doing temporary situationships. We are not doing these temporary fulfillments that, again, are quite literally temporary. And it's just a really negative spiral. We aren't doing it. Unfortunately, a man did text me recently and alluded to this, and I left him on red. I ghosted his ass. Stuff like that, in my opinion, don't warrant a response, especially if we only went on one singular date. Literally, goodbye. Ladies, remember, we are making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and that is in all the ways. And I get it. I get it. We are in the thick of winter, and it's kind of tough out here. It is kind of tough out here, but get a vibrator. We can please ourselves. We can please ourselves, and we will get through this. We will get through this. We got this. We can date in the spring. And number 10, another extremely niche one, dressing for the male gaze. And maybe this is not super, super niche, but it's niche to me because I used to dress for the male gaze. I used to wear things that I know that a guy would be looking at certain features of me. Hey, we've all done it. Let's not pretend we haven't. I'm just speaking it out loud. But I haven't dressed for the male gaze in a while, and I'm really proud of that. I wear things that I really, really, really love. Actually, last night I went to a bar to watch the playoffs with my friends, and I wore a sick outfit, in my opinion. It was a Miller Lite shirt, but I made it cropped. And I wore black barrel jeans. I wore some sock-heeled boots. And I wore my favorite Dos Caminos black hat that I actually do get a lot of compliments on whenever I wear it. But it was very cool girl. It was very, she's dressing for herself. She's actually dressing for the girls. The guys are just a byproduct. And I love that. I love dressing for myself because it makes me feel way more connected with myself. And we all should be dressing for ourselves, of course. It's not about them. It's about us. Just remember, it's about us. All right, you guys, that was my entire list. That was 10 ins and 10 outs of 2026. It was definitely hard for me to narrow these down because, of course, I have so many more. I could probably have made 20 more ins and 20 more outs, but I really wanted it to be a semi-succinct list, and I really wanted to have ones that I feel like I haven't touched on in other episodes that much. Yes, there are some things I, of course, have talked about, but I really wanted it to be a little bit more pointed to some topics that mean a lot to me, but I haven't given them a lot of space to talk about. This one was fun. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I think it's really important to remember these ins and outs. Whatever yours are, maybe some are the same, maybe we have some of the same things on our ins and outs list, but overall this list is really just to help us all be a lot more intentional in 2026 and beyond. And with that, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Misunderstood. Remember to rate the show 5 stars and follow it on Apple and Spotify. Join our Geneva group chat. It is always linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Feel free to submit a question or ask for advice on our jot form, also linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Hang out with me on my other socials, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest at NK Madani. And I will talk to you guys in my next one.